Good evening, everybody. We are live with a South African racing legend, Darryl Curtis. For you guys that don't know who Darryl is, he competed extensively in South Africa in the 90s and early 2000s. He's a multiple Dakar finisher, I believe. He's got the South African off-road and the Enduro championships, like a lot of them. I tried to count, but there's quite a few. Darryl Erzberg finisher various times, Romania's finisher various times, Roof of Africa winner, I think twice, a Red Bull commentator, which is amazing. And then also, for those of you who don't know, he runs Bandit signs for all your bike needs. And if you ever need any kind of remote communications, he also has Curtis Mobile, and he helps out a lot of the South African teams out in Dakar with their satellite communication. Darryl, welcome, man. It's great to have you on.
Thanks, Willem, and hi, everybody. Dakar fever is here again. We've got a 3-month window to enjoy it. So yeah, and thanks for everything that you guys are doing for the sport.
No, man, that's we're enjoying it. It's really nice. So, man, to jump straight into Dakar, so the big thing I left out, sorry guys, is that that Darryl is the Dakar or the ASO representative for Dakar in South Africa. And that means that if you ever from Southern Africa, at least, going to do the Dakar, you're most probably going to cross paths with him at some point. And we're definitely going to get into that later in the discussion. But I would really like to just chat with you with what's going on. I mean, I think the upsets just keeps on running. At this point, it looks like anybody in the top 15 has got a shot at actually winning Dakar. What's your feeling on what's happening over there?
Look, it's fantastic. I think it's a drug. It's an emotional roller coaster, and that's why everybody loves watching the Dakar. It's so dangerous, high speeds, massive distances, and so competitive. Since they tried to bring the speed down and they made it a much tighter, more technical track, they definitely wanted to bring the speeds down, especially on the bikes. After all the horrific crashes that they've had, I mean, the safety of the competitors is super important to them. It's brought a lot of the motocross riders in and enduro riders. And they really are racing these stages like never before. They're like special stages. They're jumping the dunes and they're going mad. It's just unbelievable to watch.
Yeah, look, I think the competition, the level of the competition at Dakar, we've never seen. I listen to a lot of different shows and people and opinions. And, I can't remember from the time that I've been following Dakar when we've had so many rookies and privateers in the top 30. It's great for the sport because it shows you anybody can do it. You don't have to be a factory team. I mean, I look at Switko. I mean, he's lying 11th or 12th. He's got a real shot, and he's doing it by himself. That's why it's great. It's so great for me.
Yeah, so guys like Ulf Aseta and Alfie Cox and Svitko and that, they all come from the same area. They've all done the African Dakars as well. So they've got a massive amount of experience. And now they've got this young wave of riders coming in, these youngsters that are, look at Mason Klein, for example. I mean, yes, he's such amazing talent. Look at Ross Branch. I mean, Bradley Cox is doing a great job. So all of these guys are coming in and they're upsetting the old guard. And they've really got to up their game now to be able to keep the pace that the guys are running at the moment.
Yeah, look, I really think that there's some big names in the bivouac that's really scared of the new guys. And now that Daniel Sanders is out, I think they have to be really worried about the South African guys or the young guys. Speaking of Bradley, I don't know if you saw the news, but the guy really lost a bit of time today, and I think that. I mean, we're all, as Southern Africans and as fans, really gutted for him. I think he set himself up perfectly for the second half of the race, and he was poised to strike. He could have done very well, and he's still going to finish. Having been a Dakar competitor on a competitive level, pushing it, kind of, can you give us a bit of insight? I mean, what it must feel like? It's easy for me to say you got it, but if your aim was to go there to perform and you perform and something like this happens, you know, it must just be devastating.
So it's very difficult for a top South African rider to go to the Dakar because the expectation is automatically that everybody wants him to do well.
Mm-hmm.
So it puts amount of pressure on that individual to manage. He's got a massive amount of experience, so I think it's a very fortunate position to try and get him to just rather try and go a little bit slower.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Sharon's approach at the moment is to really finish the race and not get injured.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went, there was really a lot of pressure on me. Darryl can do well, he can win this thing and everything else, and I knew I couldn't win the race. You know, you're going there for the first time, you're a rookie, you got to go and suss it all out. Chris Birch and myself went together in 2012 for the first time.
Okay.
And you find yourself riding out of your means. You're trying to go too fast for the terrain. You can't read the road book fast enough and everything else. So all the riders that came into, I was fortunate enough to be on the Red Bull, the KTM team for 5 years when I did a lot of satellite communication stuff, and I managed the media for them. And then I saw all of the new factory riders coming into the team, and the message was basically just finish the race. Don't get it. We don't want a result from you. So unfortunately with the South Africans, there's a lot of expectation there and a lot of sponsorship money that's gone into these guys. And you know, the expectation is that obviously we want them to do well because we like them. But at the same time, they get this massive amount of pressure where they have to please the sponsors and they have to show everybody how fast they go. And that's when it becomes dangerous. So my encouragement always to them is for their first Dakar, go and learn and go finish. And then once you start getting into it, then, you know, get more comfortable, you can start going faster and then trying to get a result, because the nature of this race is that it can bite you hard.
Well, and it certainly did today, and without, I mean, I don't even feel like I mean, you said a small video where, like, you know, you didn't take any chances, you know, and I think that's the thing about this sport that makes it so addictive is that, you know, at any point, you know, something can happen, and you're just out after 12 or 11 days of giving it your absolute all. You know, a stone in your tank throws you out, you know, and it's Dakar, you know, it's just like, but I think we've seen that with Ross over the years, and a Dakar experience is expensive. It takes time, but, you know, you have to build up on that.
And the problem now for Bradley is he's going to start way back in the pack, and now he's going to fight his way through the field again. So, you know, that also presents its own challenges. And we always say at the Dakar that you can't make your time back. You just have to hope that everybody else makes a mistake. So there's very definitely a lot of luck that goes together with a lot of talent to win this race.
Exactly. And you were talking about navigation earlier, and a bit more technical discussion I'm listening to on a higher level is that there's a theory among the guys now to say that, look, or not amongst the guys, amongst people asking the question that, you know, having made the tulips a little bit more complex, is it maybe not slowing the guys down and actually just causing them to look down at the road books more? And I would love to hear your opinion on that, because what they're saying is, you know, guys are coming into a tulip at some point, and they're coming in quite hard because the road book doesn't look that difficult. And then they get to that point and they're like, whoa, this is way more difficult than I thought. They look down and the next thing they're on the ground. So I've chatted with a few people that said, well, why don't they look at making the tulips more simple? So having more tulips rather than compressing them. What's your feeling or suggestion or input on that?
Yeah, I think it's it's a very difficult question to answer, but the steps that the Dakar have made to make it fair for everybody is, you know, I like the road book, the idea of getting your road book in the morning.
I love it.
Opposed to getting the day before, you know, because we had the map man, and in the camper van with the satellite services that we provided, and then they used to go redraw the whole route. So the top guys have got more or less an idea when they're in a canyon of which direction to take. So now, of course, in a way, it can make it a little bit more dangerous because these guys now don't know what they're heading into. There's not much time to look at the road book in the morning before they actually put it into their road book holder. But again, it is designed to slow the guys down. You can only ride as fast as you can see or as fast as you know where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
And more tulips will definitely keep the guys more busy.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like maybe a longer cap heading.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of, I don't know, what's your take on it? You've actually been doing a lot of work on the road book. So
yeah, look, personally, the last event we did, I started making tulips more condensed because of the fact that it makes your job as a road book maker easier. And I think a lot of the times it does help for me, but I have to state very clearly, I'm not a factory racer. I'm just a guy that rides. But for me, I like it because you can set up and prepare, and especially in the South African context, like we had in the Kalahari. And actually, in the Kalahari, it worked beautifully because on the first Kalahari in 2018, you would have had 3 tulips, and then in 2019 they condensed those 3 tulips to 1. And in that case, it definitely worked better. If you get to a kraal or a tree and the building, you can condense all of that in one. But I've seen some of the road books that the guys are running on Dakar, and it almost scares me. I'm like, yo, that's a lot to take in. But I think as far as condensing tulips, I would be a fan of doing it wherever I can. But that's me personally.
We had an argument at the Kalahari Rally with Garth, and now at the last edition where there was a dangerous section. And do you mark every single danger in that section, or do you say it's going to be dangerous for the next 2 kilometers? So, there's always this argument that pops up.
So, I think it's a very relative argument. There's a very famous desert racer over in the US, Jimmy Lewis. And Jimmy Lewis.
I remember Jimmy well. He came in at Erzberg one year.
Okay, so he does roadbook training out here as well. And one of the things that he does is on one of the days that you do roadbook training, there's no cautions on the road. He does not put a caution on, and he tells you before the time. And the idea is that you have to ride the terrain as well as the road, and you cannot use a caution as an excuse when you have a problem, because you're supposed to be scanning your kind of horizon. And that made me think, and I still that the caution thing, especially if it comes to slowing down a race, is something that I personally think of a lot. And on our training, we do have sections where I'm like, it's dangerous for the next 5Ks. Be aware, because you can't mark every caution. So it's a very good, very interesting argument, and I would love to see how it evolves over time for South African rallies and international rallies as the principle of the caution. And I also think that you see the desert racers actually excel in these dangerous conditions because they're used to the Baja 1000, they're used to the Fink desert race, they're used to thinking caution as opposed to riding roadbook.
But I think the safety, the danger markings and the waypoints, like a safety waypoint at the Dakar, is something that has to be there. It's just, it's not even a question. So I wouldn't even consider doing a roadbook training camp without any of those dangers, because sure, you're teaching the guys to ride within their means and that, but a rally bike has got speed and it's difficult to stop. And by the time you see that danger, it's too late normally, and you end up having a huge crash.
Yeah. So anyway, it's talking roadbook technicalities will keep me busy all night. So the reason we wanted to chat with you specifically, Darryl, as the ASO representative, is to kind of give us a high altitude view of what it would look like for a simpleton like me to go out and do the Dakar from my home in South Africa or wherever I am at. I know that there's a lot of timelines involved and obviously a lot of money involved and all the rest of it. So it doesn't have to be the technical side of it, but it's a question of what does the average guy look at? Like, you hear every single person say it, and I followed Dakar for many years, and I now truly believe it because I'm trying to go there myself, is that the journey is the hardest part. To actually get to the start line of your Dakar, that's the fight. The kind of fruit for your labor is to actually enjoy the race and submit yourself to torture for 14 days. So I mean, to me, it looks like, just off the top of my head, the average age of guys taking part in Dakar, you know, they're over their 40s. And it's because it takes 5 to 10 years to get there, you know. So if you can give us a bit of an overview of that from an ASO perspective, I'd really appreciate that.
So my role with the ASO is to basically develop rally in Southern Africa, and anybody that wants to go to the Dakar or qualify for the Dakar. So I'm kind of like a stepping stone. So I've got a presentation that I normally share with the guys. It's about 2 hours long, and I talk them through, especially a beginner that's never been to the Dakar, like from the very beginning to the very end of his journeys. So what does he need to do to raise money? How much money? More or less an overview of the budget. I can connect them with all of the teams overseas, indication of budgets, and so on and so forth. And then, you know, we developed the Kalahari Rally as a road to Dakar in South Africa to help the guys, instead of spending 250,000 rand to go and do the Mazuga Rally in Morocco as a qualifying event, or in Dubai, they could simply do it in South Africa for around 50 or 60,000 rand. They could get that qualification. And then it also taught people how to, you know, do their first rally and follow the road book. So, and then as well, if there's any other rallies, like the Chrono Rally, for example, now, and I connect all the dots basically between MSA and the different rallies, different federations, and then back to the ASO.
Okay. So you're the link in the chain between events on the ground and the ASO in France, basically.
Pretty much. And then if the ASO have got a problem in South Africa, then they'll give me a call and they'll say, listen, can you go see MSA, or can you find out a little bit more about this rally or that rally? And then I'll be running around on the ground here trying to sort everything out. And at the same time, if I hear there's a new interest that Willem wants to go do the Dakar, then I'll connect you with the ASO. You can start getting all of the updates and the newsletters and things like that, and you'll be put on their radar. And then you can come and visit me, and then I'll share whatever information I've got with you. A couple of the guys had problems this year looking for service vehicles, for example. You know, it was impossible to put their vehicle on a ship here. So, you know, we managed to find a vehicle over in Dubai or in Europe, for example, and then put them together, and they can start negotiating and everything else. So, like, over the years, I've made quite a lot of those kinds of connections. And then the guys that have done Dakar lots, like Ross and them, they don't need me anymore. But if there's an instance where they can't get hold of somebody in the organization, then I'm always there for them, where they can get hold of me and say, listen, I'm really struggling with this issue or that issue. Then I can normally get an answer quite quickly for them.
Okay. So do you miss being at the Dakar? Do you feel every year in January your heartstrings being tugged towards Saudi, or is it more a sense of relief that you can watch it through a screen?
I'm actually quite enjoying staying at home this year, to be honest. I've been there. Look, I skipped last year as well. I went to the first Saudi Dakar, and then the previous 8 all in South America. And yes, I love the Dakar, but right now I have to focus on my business. So I did have an opportunity to go and work with the Toyota Gazoo team this year, but I had to turn them down simply because of my obligations here to my business. But we did manage to brand all of the cars and do all of the satellite kit for them.
Nice.
And obviously, with all of the branding, you know, we brand all of the Century cars as well. So I work quite closely with, you know, Brian and Julian and the guys at Century Racing. But in general, we're fortunate enough to have such a healthy rally ecosystem in South Africa. There's just so many cars. Look at the quality of the Toyota Gazoo cars and the Century cars, and the stuff coming out of South Africa is just absolutely mind-blowing.
I think Toyota today had 1, 2, 3 as far as fastest times, the Gazoos. And I think that in itself, you know, is amazing to see this like I saw a stat that 30% of all the vehicles in Dakar comes from South Africa. And I think it's time that we kind of start claiming that honor, you know, and that South Africans kind of become a bit more aware of this, because definitely I think we are, if we look at our pilots, if we look at our consistency, I mean, Alfie was one of the most consistent Dakar podium finishers on a bike in history, you know. We've got so many legends like yourself as well that's been there and that's part of this race, that I'd really like to see the profile of rally raised in South Africa. And you know, if you look at Australia, Daniel Sanders, Toby Price, those guys are absolute famous. You know, you can't. I mean, if Toby Price walks into a restaurant in Australia, even doesn't matter where it is, people are like, oh wow, that's Toby Price. You know, whereas we don't have that national thing. I mean, even in Botswana, everybody knows who Ross is. You know, the whole country is behind it. So I would definitely love to see a bit more of a national awareness of rally. And speaking of the CR6, so guys, if you see that yellow CR6 on the Dakar, Darryl did the branding for that. And did you guys do the wrapping as well? As far as, did you wrap the car in the way that it's there?
Correct. Yeah, we did the 5 cars for Century, the 5 cars that left from the South African side, and then there were 5 cars that were already there. But yeah, it's always exciting, and it keeps me close to the guys as well. They really support me as well with whatever business we can do. That's one thing about our community, as you know, all of the off-road racing and rally and Dakar community, everybody tries to keep send work to each other and keep it in the family. It really is a fantastic community.
Definitely.
But tell me a little bit more about your Karoo Roadbook camp, because you know, I've been involved with the Amageza Rally with Alexander now from the very beginning, and then now we've got the Kalahari Rally, and I still think it's the best platform ever that there's been for South Africans to go learn about rally. And anybody can go fast, but that roadbook is a completely different animal, like you know. And that's why I was so much in favor of Garth's effort there with the Kalahari Rally, because the navigation was extremely difficult. And for the first time, we've got cars in South Africa that are going to go do a rally. And this is huge. And we also got a massive international presence, which nobody else has been able to achieve in South Africa. The SAC series, yes, we've had some international competitors, but there's guys putting their cars into containers and shipping them to South Africa for the Kalahari. And there's been a huge shortage of guys like yourself that are doing these roadbook camps. And I believe it's absolutely massive. And now that I know that you do it, you know, I didn't know up until today, then I'd like to send everybody to you. I'd like to come out myself and join your next roadbook camp. When is it?
So in April, we have the event. It's a 3-day event, and what we do is I say upright, you know, kind of my introduction spiel is like, guys, I'm not a racer. I love riding rallies, and I like to see how fast I can go, but by no means am I qualified to teach somebody how to go fast on a roadbook. I see my role as more as introducing people to roadbooks and to kind of share tips and tricks, because that's what helps. So we cater across the board. We cater for guys that's never been on a roadbook, and then we cater for guys that has rally bikes and want to use them and come, and those two groups mesh together, and you have a natural learning experience because the guys help each other out. And then it's also very much social. So, you know, we have tough days, we have long days, and we run it as a rally simulation. And we've had a lot of feedback from guys last year, which now we're going to build into this year. So stuff like, you know, nutrition during the race. What's the kind of timeline I'm looking at a rally, you know, stuff like that. So it's very informal. It's very important to state that. It's a social weekend where we get to ride our rally bikes and learn how to navigate waypoints or understand GPSs and all the rest of it. So you have a rally simulation, you get a start time, you get a time card. If you lose your time card, you're out. You don't score, you know. So we keep it as real as possible, but we take away the stress of being at a high-paced event. And definitely what you're saying about the Kalahari, man, the first Kalahari in 2018, and then I did it in 2019, and it was such an eye opener riding those road books, because it was really difficult. Like, the navigation was so tight, and I had listened to Ryan PS Laser, Jurgen, and
Ryan
apparently,
Bland and Jürgen, yeah.
yes, and Jurgen is apparently, it's a huge guy. Like, he's done, I don't know, 10 Dakars. And I remember Jurgen sitting one night by the fire, and he's like, you know what? This navigation here in the Kalahari is way more difficult than it is at Dakar. I know Van Staden, the Duster team, Elf Renault, they said the same thing. They're like, you know, this navigation is what kind of teaches you how to navigate. And if you look at the guys that did do the Kalahari this year, they're doing really well, you know. And I think that the Kalahari plays such a big role in preparing guys for Dakar, because it was tough. I mean, my fingernails fell out a week after the Kalahari. So I mean, it was proper tough.
So I was there last year, and I can tell you that there was a massive step up from when you did it, Willem. So the road book was not as difficult as when you did it. You know, it was the days were basically, there wasn't enough time to do that road book in a day. So they definitely made it a lot more open and a lot more rally friendly. But unfortunately, there's an announcement from Garth now where they're not going to run the event in 2022 due to funding issues. And it's quite sad, because it really did get to a level where it was poised to do exceptionally well, but they needed a title sponsor to come on board. And maybe things still change. Maybe he manages to find that title sponsor. But you know, I had so much fun there last year. I didn't race it or anything like that. I followed it. But I think the level that he managed to achieve was exceptional. Terrence Marsh also said, you know, he builds the red line Nissans, and he said that in the 3,000 kilometers, there was one tulip that he found to be incorrect. So that says a lot for South African road books.
Definitely. And even in 2019, you know, the road books were very, very good. I mean, I can't remember that there was an issue in 2019 on the actual road books. So I mean, look, it's one of those things where I feel everybody's efforts helps along the way, and I really hope anybody that's listening that can support Garth or support the Kalahari and come on as a title sponsor, please, you know, get in touch with him. I know that there are people that are planning a rally behind the scenes for August, which is the Chrono Rally.
Yeah,
and
correct.
Then we've also got the Tankwa that happens. The times change, but you know, we were involved in the Tankwa doing road books, and we didn't have a lot of entrants, but you know, Clive has been putting on the Tankwa for many years, and I think it's always a challenge to get rally organizers to work together, but I'm of the opinion the more events there are, the better. And I will do everything from my side to try and support each event, because each event has got its strengths, and I want to see the sport grow. So, you know, I know that Tankwa is not having a roadbook class in 2022 because of just COVID and all the effort we put in last year. So I think in 2023, we're going to see a huge boom. Hopefully, you know, Kalahari will be back in full swing. Hopefully, Tankwa will be back in full swing. And hopefully, Chrono is established as an event. I believe it will use 2020 to establish itself as an event. And then we're going to start seeing some real fun, because, I mean, we've got the guys and we've got the ability for the guys to do it. And I said to Alfie the other night, we have the best terrain in the world for motorcycling. You know, you can go from Natal to Namibia and you can have everything in between. You have mountains, you have sand, you have forests, you have Peru. There's no reason why we shouldn't be a rally mecca for the world.
And this is the thing that's getting me down at the moment, and it basically comes down to funding. But I mean, the Chrono Rally, the Tankwa Rally, I've never had a chance to interact with him. I think this year I will find out a little bit more and go to those races. I'm willing to promote any rally sport in South Africa and try to get Motorsport South Africa on board to try and help grow and promote the sports, because we, you know, when I was at the desert race last year. It was started out of Uppington, and you just have a look at the terrain that they've got there, and going into the western side of the Cape is just mind-blowing. It's never ending rally terrain. The farmers love it. The communities get involved. All the way to Namibia, where we went with the Kalahari Rally up into, I can't remember the name of the border post in Namibia. But man, the municipalities as well, they're all willing to come on board. We just need somebody to try and support the organizations with, a big sponsorship that can take it to the next level, because that's huge.
We've definitely never had as much interest in the sport as we have now. I mean, maybe back in the 90s, there was a lot of interest in the heyday of racing back then. And everything happens in cycles. So I think from my side, I really hope that, especially with the South Africans or Southern Africans, I think we have to get our minds right. The Southern Africans that are representing so well in the Dakar, all the other guys, Werner Kennedy is hanging in there. He's there every day. John Kelly is doing really well as well. Sharon, Bradley, what's his name? Walter. It's a ton of guys just on the bikes. I don't know the car guys so well, but I know the ton of guys in the cars as well. So maybe the thing for 2022 is that we're going to have some title sponsors climb out the woodwork and actually see the opportunity here, because I think my advice to sponsors would be that, this is getting in at the ground level. If you get in now and you partner with an event, you're going to be partnering with an event with true potential. Doesn't matter which one. The fact of the matter is there's potential for rally racing in South Africa, and we need to build on that. So yeah, on that note, Darryl, man, I really appreciate your time. It's always awesome to hear from somebody with so much knowledge and experience. I really hope that we're going to see you down in the Karoo for the training event. Not that you need any training, but you can definitely help us out into learning how to ride faster and teach us all your tips and tricks. And definitely share the share the ASO experience with the guys, because this year we had quite a few guys that actually went on to Dakar, and I know that there's a lot of guys that's planning to go to Dakar. And that's the other thing that I love about It's Normal Oaks going, is that it shows the rest of the guys, like, everybody that was there, the guy, like, if he can do it, so can I. And I think that's very valuable.
Yeah, that's 100% true. And I'm loving the social media of today, because these guys are able to transmit their videos and their stories from Dakar into their social media channels, which we never had before because of the communication problems in South America. And I think that's really bringing it straight back to everybody's lounge, which is incredible. And the coverage that the ASO and Toyota Gazoo are helping to sponsor, that's coming to us on DSTV, is also, I think, a big improvement from previous years. So definitely, it really gets everybody excited. And
there's also the Southern African Dakar group, as well as Race Day TV. I know Race Day TV is on every day from 7 till 8, and they have real good in-depth discussions. So definitely more than enough. It can always be more, but we've got enough coverage to keep us busy. I mean, the one thing I've learned this last few years is you have to take off the first 2 weeks in January, because you can't work and follow Dakar. It's just not possible.
Yeah, I'm on all the Dakar groups, so then I'm working and my phone's going nuts, and you want to see what's going on, and that's just how it is. It really is a fantastic journey, a fantastic race to follow. It really is like a drug. You can't leave it alone.
Yeah. Well, man, thank you so much once again for your time. Really appreciate it. And thank you for your input. And we're really stoked to see you down in the Karoo in April, man. Thank you so much.
Any excuse to get out of Joburg. So I'll be there. And thanks very much for having me on the show. And everybody enjoy the rest of Dakar.
Thank you so much. Oh, last one. Who's gonna take a podium? I know it's impossible, but you have to commit. If you have to commit, who's gonna have a podium?
Yes. Well, Sam's looking pretty good at the moment, but sure, I don't know. There's a big fight between him and
Matthias
and the brother-in-law. So I don't know who's going to be there.
Van Beveren, yeah. Look, it'll be interesting to see a Yamaha at the podium, man. I'm all for variety, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, me too. You know, like let the best man win. You know, guys like Beretta have had so much bad luck over the years. You kind of like wish that they could get onto the top step at some points, but yeah, the best man must win on the day, and it's a long race. Anything can happen, but
The best man
it's
with the
anybody's race.
best luck as well.
Yeah, exactly that.
Listen, man,
100%.
thank you. May the stars smile upon the winner and have a great evening. Really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Willem. You guys too. Cheers.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right, so that was Darryl Curtis from the ASO. Really informative chat there with him. Thank you very much for watching, guys. And we will see you tomorrow night for a Joey Evans special. Of those of you that don't know Joey's story, take some time before you watch this and go and read up on it. It's a truly impressive, magnificent story of perseverance. And I can't wait to share a screen with Joey. So have a great evening, and we will chat with you guys tomorrow.